Assalamu alaikum, family. Before we head into our event, we are taught in the Nation of Islam that before we do anything, and I mean anything, we are taught to pray to God for our success. And we pray and hope that what is presented today is of some benefit to everyone who is tuned in. So at this time, family, please assume a position of prayer that is most comfortable for you, and we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live, Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, and not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. Amen. Once again, Assalamu alaikum, family. I am your host for today, Brother Ryan X, and on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture here in the Southern region, we just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Sunday to come hang out with us as we discuss the topic of food storage. One of the questions you may be asking yourself is, why is food storage so important? Well, the knowledge of food storage is very critical during this time that we're living in because it teaches us how to properly take foods and store them in a way that would extend the shelf life of those foods. For instance, let's think about fresh vegetables. With fresh vegetables, they may last a couple of weeks after being picked. But if you learn the knowledge of how to properly store those vegetables, you can eat those same vegetables a year down the road and they're still edible. When the COVID pandemic first happened, people were so unsure about what was going to happen next that everybody went and just bought up everything in the grocery stores. And those of us, including myself, who were slow to respond, when we went into those grocery stores, we seen a shortage of everything on the shelf. The shelves were completely depleted. And of the things that were left on the shelves, people are literally fighting over those things. So with what we experienced in the COVID pandemic, wouldn't it be nice that if something like that happens again, that we are prepared and we don't have to go out and be anxious and full of anxiety about where our next meal is going to come from because we already have food stored at home when hard times do hit. For those of us who follow the divine teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we know that those hard times are among us and we are entering into those dark hours. And if you study the scriptures of the Bible or the Holy Quran, you can see those things that are prophesied to come literally walking off the pages. And we know one of those things that are to come is famine. So proper preparation in the survival against famine is absolutely critical. And we know what these men teach is of truth and of divine guidance because the Jesus who is predicted to come in the Holy Quran is to teach the people of what to eat and what to store in their homes. So just know that you are at the right place and the right time, family. With hyperinflation going on, the price of goods are beginning to skyrocket. And with high gas prices, many trucks and 18-wheelers cannot transport goods to our local grocery stores and able to restock the shelves. So family, that's the goal of this event today, is this to give us some knowledge, give us some information on how to properly store foods, and not only properly store foods, but know what foods to store and are the best for our bodies, as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And without any further ado, now that we're beginning to understand and take the storing of food more serious, we'd like to go ahead and get started with our first presenter. One of our presenters today is our lovely Sister Colette Muhammad. Sister Colette Muhammad is a registered MGT out of the Rochester, New York study group, and she is married to her loving husband, Brother Ronald Muhammad. Sister Colette Muhammad has been a registered believer in the Nation of Islam since 2002. As an MGT, among many things, she has recently learned the skill of canning as instructed by the head of the MGT class, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Over the last year and a half, she has strived to use her social media platforms to reach the masses of the people in a relatable way to help educate them on the importance of canning and to also help remove the anxiety, the fear, the apprehension, and the procrastination that many of us have with it. By doing so, Sister Colette has also found a do for self by creating and selling various canning classes, virtual workshops, constellations, and more. Man, the sister is on it. So let's open our hearts, mind, and ears to receive what our sister has to give to us today.
Assalamu alaikum. Greetings and peace to you all. I'm Sister Colette, your sister by nature, and I teach food preservation using a method called canning. Canning is a way to preserve food in jars to last you a minimum of 1 year and beyond. I'm also an MGT, which stands for Muslim Girl in Training, the name given to the women and girls in the Nation of Islam. We have several training units: how to rear our children, how to keep house, how to take care of our husbands, sew, cook, and in general, how to act at home and abroad. Several years ago, we were in our cooking curriculum, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the head of our class, gave us the instruction to learn the skill of canning. And so, under his guidance for several months, we underwent a complete curriculum to learn and practice the skill of canning. We know and understand that the minister is divinely guided and clearly had a vision for what was to come, and we consider ourselves blessed and highly favored for him to have prepared us for it by encouraging us to continue canning and to secure a minimum of 3 months' worth of food in our homes. After I completed the training from our MGT class, I unfortunately did not can very often as I should have. I still had some anxieties about canning at home alone, as well as a few physical health challenges that were making canning difficult for me at that time. However, as time went on and we continued to receive the guidance and instruction from our beloved minister to continue canning, I, not wanting to be disobedient, began to increase my canning efforts. As I seek to gain more knowledge on the skill of canning on various social media platforms, I struggled with the fact that none of the canners ever looked like me. Usually they were Caucasian, white women living on a homestead, and this just gave almost a subliminal suggestion that canning was something that other people were doing, that you had to live on a farm, a homestead, have a huge kitchen, etc. And no offense to any of these individuals here, they're very good at what they do. In fact, I actually purchased an online canning course from this individual on the bottom left that I found to be very useful and informative. But still, I just was not getting the connection until I came across a YouTube channel named Homestead Heart, which features a black family living on a homestead starring a sister that does quite a bit of canning. She was very relatable, and I immediately fell in love with her content, and I began watching her regularly, and I significantly increased my own canning efforts. As time went on, in an effort to do for self and under the guidance of Brother Dr. Ben X, I recently developed my very own YouTube channel, and as well as many other social media platforms where I strive to demonstrate the skill of canning in a relatable way, hoping to put another face out there that looks like me and my people. As we know, we are facing food shortages nationwide as well as inflation, um, also being referred to as hyperinflation. So, learning this skill has become more important than ever. One of the major benefits of canning food is the long shelf life, which is a year and even beyond. Some other benefits to canning: it allows you to eat food out of season throughout the year. It also it offers financial savings, and we know we can definitely use that. You know exactly what is in each jar because you're the one that prepared it. It helps to eliminate food waste and food shortages that we are facing. And they even make great gifts. It's not all doom and gloom. It's most definitely a method of doing for self and a sense of freedom. It can also be a fun activity with a friend, a family member, a child. It definitely offers convenience to be able to reach for a jar of your own jarred food at any given time. And again, it offers us food security. It's emergency survival technique. Canning food is going to help us get through these uncertain times that we're now living in. So, how does it work? So, just simply put, food is placed in jars, it's put in a canner, which produces a certain temperature that destroys the natural microorganisms and enzymes that cause food spoilage. During that heating process, air is driven out of the jar, and as it cools, a vacuum seal is formed. So, one method of canning is known as water bath canning, also known as boiling. This method is used when canning high acid foods. A basic water bath canner is used or a large stock pot with a lid. When the water in the canner reaches a rolling rapid boil, it reaches a temperature of 212 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on your altitude. This temperature is able to stop the development of certain molds, yeast, and bacteria that naturally develop on high acid foods only. Another method is known as steam canning. This method is also used when canning high acid foods. A steam canner, also known as a fruit saver, is used. This canner uses a steaming technique by only using a few inches of water in the bottom of the pot rather than filling the pot up to completely submerge your jars. This makes the canning process faster and you use less water. And a third option is pressure
Right
canning.
here is the
This method
scenting
is used when
process.
canning low acid foods. A pressure canner is used, not a pressure cooker. The pressure canner builds up steam and pressure inside of it. The temperatures reach from 240 to 260 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is able to kill off and stop the bacteria that naturally develops on low acid foods. You must use a pressure canner for low acid foods. But what should you can? The ongoing guidance that has been given to the sisters of the Nation of Islam is to continue to canning simple, low acid food items like your vegetables, your meats, your navy beans. Under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by Master Fard Muhammad, God in person, the navy bean is to be cooked and eaten on a regular basis to sustain us. It helps stabilize blood sugar, lowers heart attacks. It is a good folate source, full of fiber, iron, protein, antioxidants, energy booster, immune booster, improves memory, reduces radiation. It definitely will help prevent sicknesses. So it only makes sense that canning navy beans would be high on the list of things one should practice canning in abundance on a regular basis to have in their pantry. There's also carrots, which help improves your skin condition, improves digestion, improves kidney function, helps to reduce the incidence of stroke, maintains a healthy heart, improves liver function, improves eye health, improves teeth condition, and helps to prevent certain cancers. Another option is green beans. It's good for anti-aging, antioxidant, rich in fiber, boosts your immunity. It's a great vitamin K and vitamin C source, another good source of folate, and improves cardiovascular health. And the list definitely goes on. When canning these types of foods, which are low acid foods, you will need to use a pressure canner, as I mentioned before. These are just three examples of pressure canners, although there are more. Pressure canners, again, must be used when canning low acid foods like navy beans, green beans, carrots, meats, and so on. You'll know a food is a low acid food if it falls on the pH acidity chart at 4.6 and above. When canning high acid foods like your jellies, fruits, or pickled items, the water bath method can be used, as shown in this photo here. It will be things like I said, apples, plums, applesauce, sauces. These type of foods will fall on the pH acidity chart at 4.6 and below. When storing your canned food items, you want to find a cool, dark area to store them, like maybe a basement, your pantry, closet, even under your bed. Always be sure to test your lids on your jars before you store them to make sure that they're properly sealed. And be sure to remove the bands. So in this picture on the left, it's demonstrating a proper way of storing your canned food items. As you can see, they're straight across. The bands have been removed, and so that's a good way to store your jarred items. This picture on the right is not a good example on how to store your canned foods. One thing that stands out is I see a few of the jarred items are stacked on top of each other, which is not good, and the bands have been left on them. That is not good as well. Again, you want to make sure that you remove the bands when you store them. Your home canned food is at its best within the first 12 to 18 month time frame, and from there is when you want to consider eating it and replacing it. Over time, what will happen is the color of your food will start to fade over time, texture can start to break down, and definitely over time, your nutritional value will begin to decrease. So as I come to a conclusion of this presentation, I recommend we follow the commandment of Ikra and be sure to read the manuals to our pressure canners thoroughly and invest in an official canning recipe book. These books are very easy to read, very descriptive, and they give step-by-step guidance on the proper way of canning food, whether it be the water bath or the pressure canning method. You cannot use an ordinary recipe book when it comes to safe canning. So these recipe books are scientifically proven recipes safe for canning. They give you the proper jars. They'll instruct you on the proper jars to use, the proper method to use, the proper processing time, and the measurements as well. Another good resource that you can use for online guidance can be found by searching the National Center for Home Food Preservation. And this website covers not only canning, it also covers the proper way to freeze food, to dry, dehydrate, cure and smoke, ferment, and pickle a variety of different foods safely. And so again, if you're not too big on, reading the book, which you really should tap into your canning recipe book. But this online source is very thorough and approved as well. And so I hope that this mini presentation was valuable in some way, gave you some insight on the importance and urgency of learning and practicing the skill of canning. I do teach canning in much greater detail and do invite you to visit my websites, www.canningwithcolette.com or www.canning.mystrikingly.com, as well as my various social media platforms where I strive to teach the masses and those that are survival conscious on the skill and importance of canning. So I offer digital courses, I offer live coaching and consultation, as well as live workshops and group workshops as well. I do have a free 35-minute mini digital class called The Introduction to Canning, where I cover in greater detail the many benefits of canning, how canning works, the different types of equipment that you'll need and how those items work, and more. All right. And so I definitely encourage you to take advantage while I have it available. It is free and it is approximately 35 minutes long. In much more detail than what you received here in this presentation. However, this presentation definitely should give you some insight on the skill of canning and the importance of canning. And again, I'm Sister Colette, your sister by nature, and it's been an absolute pleasure to share this space and time with you. And I do again encourage us to learn and practice this skill. It's not too late to learn. It's not too late to get into the game. In fact, it's incumbent upon us to learn and practice this skill. All right, you all enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
For our next presenter, we have another lovely sister who has taken time out to give us some information that can help us in our lives. And that is none other than our sister, Sister Ann Mukmeen. Sister Ann is married to a hardworking brother, Dr. Ridgely Mukmeen, who is the student minister over the Ministry of Agriculture in Brownwood, Georgia. Not too long ago, I got to spend time on the farm with Sister Ann and Dr. Ridgely and got to see firsthand just how hard they work, just how much it takes to maintain their land and how much they do for our nation. She is a hard-working sister, and she has a lot of knowledge that a lot of us can benefit from. Without Sister Ann, the staple goods program that is done every year with the Ministry of Agriculture, where believers and others can purchase navy beans, rice, black beans, lentils, and all other kinds of goods, would not be what it is. When she was asked to be a presenter on our event, she lit up. She was excited to be able to share a little bit of what she knows with us. So family, without further ado, here is our sister, Sister Ann Mukmeen.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sister Ann Muhammad, wife of Dr. Ridgely Mukmeen Muhammad, who is the student minister of agriculture for the Nation of Islam here in Brownwood, Georgia. That's Brownwood, B-R-O-N-W-O-O-D, Brownwood, and not Brunswick. I've been canning for more than 30 years, and I find that so many people are intimidated by the process of canning. They are afraid of the process and the equipment, but I'm here to tell you, get over the fear and let's do canning. First, I'm going to talk about storage of your beans. I have here I think it's a 25-pound brute canner for, it's food grade, and it's for dry products really, and it's Rubbermaid, and I get this from a company called Uline, but you can probably find them anywhere. Just put in a Google search, food grade storage containers. Use your smartphone. Okay? They are dark in color, and that keeps the light from getting to the food. If you store your beans in these, they will keep for about 3 years. But then, after that time, they're still good to use. You can still use them. They may take longer to cook. Next, I'm going to talk about the process. Now, books. You can invest in a lot of different books, take courses, and what have you. It's what I've done, taken courses in canning, although the course I took was in commercial canning. But these books are invaluable. You can find recipes in them. You don't have to ask anybody for recipes. Just study your books. Next, we're going to talk about cooking your bean soup. Now, you have to prepare for canning. I said prepare. That plan. Make a plan. Set aside a day or two for your canning process. You cook your bean soup first. This is the pot I would use because I plan to can at least 24 or more jars of bean soup. You soak your beans overnight as you would your other beans that you're going to cook. You prepare all of your vegetables. That is all the vegetables that go in the soup. Your onions, celery, bell pepper, carrots. I think that's it on the vegetables. And you can put other vegetables in. Then what I would do is, other people have different ways of doing it, but I want my broth to be flavorful. So I've learned to make a broth for the beans. You only need a small amount of water to do that. And then after that's to your liking. You've soaked your beans, you've washed and cleaned them. Now the beans are ready to start cooking for your bean soup. I would start my beans off first, let them get going, and then add my other ingredients. Now, I've seen some people have the different ingredients, add the beans and add the ingredients. What I find for me, it's easier for me to make the soup. Then we go to canning. And you need some equipment and some supplies. These are my jar lifters. You lift your jars, you lift your lids, you put your funnel over your jar, and this one is made to fit over the entire jar. And you have your dipper for your soup. Now you want to can while your soup is hot. You want to keep your jars hot. I have here a pan that I put my jars in. I may have the other jars in the sink after I've washed them. Put your jars and your lids in this pan to keep them hot. I have a kettle here of hot water. I can keep that kettle there and replenish my water. This is some of the process. Now you want to cook, as I said, have your ingredients ready. Oh, and one thing, don't use whole baby carrots in your bean soup. It's best to use fresh ingredients, that is if you're going to can. Now, let's talk about the canning process. Beans and bean soup have to be pressure canned. This is a pressure canner. This little thing is called the petcock. It has weights on it, 5, 10, 15. That's the amount of weight that you're going to give your beans to cook. Well, it depends on the recipe and the altitude in which you live. If you live in high altitude, it may take more pressure. But I know in this altitude that I'm living in, it's low altitude. So I know I'm going to take 10 pounds of pressure. So I put this on, make sure it's on there. And this is designed to release the pressure. You see these holes here and here? It's designed to automatically release the pressure. That's the problem many sisters have in being afraid of the canner. They think it'll blow up, but not if you get one that has this, and you don't have to keep checking it and releasing the pressure. That's the way they first started making canners. And they always had a rubber seal around them. This one does not have a seal. So you don't have to worry about the seal going bad or needing to be replaced. It doesn't have a seal. So it's very, very safe. And they make them today very safely. And this has the timer on it, and it tells you it'll go to the amount of pressure you need to keep the beans at. And this thing, as long as it's set right, if it gets up beyond where you need it, this will start releasing that pressure. You don't have to do anything else other than a timer. You set, and everyone should have a timer. And I don't have one handy right now. They're over there. One's over there. But you set your timer for the amount of time it calls for to cook your bean soup. You cook your bean soup for that amount of time, and when your timer goes off, your beans are ready. Now, I usually set this on. I have a propane cooker, and it's outside. I set this on a propane cooker, and when that timer goes off, I turn all of the gas off to the propane cooker and the gas tank. So that is the canning process. Now again, you must can beans and bean soup. They are low acid commodities, so they must be canned in a pressure canner. Not a water bath, but a pressure canner. If you do it in a water bath, some people say, well, you do it twice as long. No. This is the only thing that will get higher than the boiling temperature, probably 300 degrees. And you want to use this because it pressurizes and gets all of the bacteria and other things that are not supposed to be in your food out. A pressure canner will not do that. That is why you only use it for high acid foods.
Not a pressure canner.
Water bath canner.
Right.
Water bath canner cannot be used. It's only used for high acid foods, such as your fruits, and making jams and jellies, and so forth. Now, let's see, have I covered everything? Oh, once your timer goes off and you cut off your gas supply, you want to wait before you remove the lid because all that pressure is still inside of the canner. You wait, I would say about 15, 30 minutes. Then you slowly release it. And then take your lid off. This is heavy. And you're ready to remove your jars with your jar lifter. And then set your hot jars on a towel. This is the result. Bean soup. I find that, and you want to check your seal. After you take your jars out of the canner, sometimes immediately they will begin to pop. That is, you checking the seal. See, you don't hear anything. When I press down, they're sealed. If after, I would say, 8 hours, they have not sealed, you need to refrigerate this because you can can it over. But you want to check to make sure your seal is on there good. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about, and keep these out of a draft. Set them on a towel. Make sure they're not in a draft. Let's see. Oh, and your bean soup, how long it will last? Well, I don't know for certain, but I think it will last just as long or longer than the beans in the storage, probably longer. 3 years or longer. But check the seal. Check the seal. Now, the reason I chose bean soup as one of the items I have other items, but the reason I chose bean soup, this is a complete food. It has your beans, your vegetables, and I use olive oil, and it is complete. So that's what you want to do. Can foods for survival that are complete food. And this is good for when you have unexpected guests. You can open a couple of jars of bean soup. Everybody has bean soup. And that's the process of canning bean soup.
Wow, family. All I can say is that we've had some powerful presenters today. Praise be to Allah. Sister Colette and Sister Ann have given us wonderful tips and outstanding guidance on the science of canning. What these sisters have given us, if we carry it into application, will literally save us and help us survive during these dark hours that we are heading into. We got this, family. If you have any feedback for our presenters or any questions that you would like to ask them, please don't hesitate to leave any questions or feedback in the comment section of our YouTube video, or you can email us at moasouthernregion@gmail.com. Again, that is moasouthernregion@gmail.com, and that will be in the description of the YouTube video as well. Our presenters are looking forward to any feedback and questions that you have, so send them on over. And please share this video with your family and friends as well. Thank you for tuning in, family, and we pray to Allah that what was presented today benefited you. So at this time, we'd like to close out as we opened at the beginning of this event, and that is with prayer. So please assume a position of prayer that is comfortable for you, and we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, and not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.